Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
The number of tuning firms per 1,000 cars in Western countries is much higher than the average Russian figures. In terms of the number of homegrown Kulibin, we hold the palm of superiority. A European or American car owner, if it comes to improving the design of his car, in 95% of cases will turn to the nearest car service center. In our country, many car owners will prefer to finalize their cars themselves. In particular, installation of disc brakes instead of outdated drum brakes is a tuning that is very popular. But such refinement will be even more effective if you equip the system with a hydraulic handbrake. And although these units can be found in auto stores and equipped with it almost any model, many car owners prefer independent manufacture. An installation of this component of the improved braking system. What is the purpose of the hydraulic handbrake? The argument about stretching the cable of the mechanical handbrake is a strong argument, but not the only one and not even the main one. Such tuning is preferred by fans of sporty driving because the hydraulic parking brake allows braking the rear wheels and with unequal efficiency. In normal conditions, such actions are possible only in the presence of great driving skill, and even then not on all cars. It should be noted that at such cardinal modification of the braking system of the car, the regulator should be installed between the brake master cylinder and the hydraulic handbrake. Only in this case you will get the opportunity to redistribute the braking force emphasized on the rear axle in a sufficiently large range, while the power of the front brakes will also increase. But remember that, according to the rules of operation of motor vehicles, unauthorized intervention to change the standard design of the braking system is inadmissible unless approved by the car manufacturer. Principle of operation of the hydraulic handbrake. Some 2 decades ago, a hydraulically actuated parking brake was a gimmick, but today many models, especially sporty ones, are equipped with such a system. The hydraulic handbrake is a fairly simple device, characterized by relatively high reliability if compared to the usual mechanical. The design of the hydraulic parking brake has practically no quickly wearing parts and assemblies. Again, we remember the cable of the classic handbrake, so this system is compatible with other modern brake electronic systems. The main feature is considered to be the absence of a cable, the functions of which are transferred to the hydraulic cylinder. However, some parts of the design, ratchet, locking button, remain unchanged. The installation of the hydraulic handbrake allows a more subtle control of the brakes when braking with the pedal. If the force transmitted to the rear wheels is insufficient, you can simultaneously use the handbrake lever. Its activation will increase the pressure formed on the rear circuit of the advanced braking system. Of course, in the absence of a cable, there is no need to tighten it, and in general, the maintenance of hydraulic ST is much easier. It is worth remembering that the classic handbrake is independent of the work of the standard brake system, in our case, any malfunction that leads to the inoperability of conventional brakes will affect the parking brake, for example, with the leakage of their contour of brake fluid. Advantages and disadvantages of hydraulic brakes. We have already noted that usually the hydraulic handbrake is installed when they change the drum brakes on the rear axle to disc-type devices. Before we talk about the pros and cons of hydraulic ST, let's talk about what gives the use of disc brakes. Drum-type brakes are subject to strong heating, which over time leads to a decrease in stability. Disc mechanisms are cooled much more efficiently, so their characteristics are practically not subject to age-related changes, and this is considered one of the main advantages of this type of brakes. The second plus comes out of the first. It is a reduction in the length of the braking distance due to the higher efficiency of disc mechanisms. And the increase in traffic safety is a very weighty argument in the ever-increasing density of traffic flow and speed of traffic. On country highways, disc brakes are structurally more compact and noticeably lighter than their drum counterparts. Read also whether it is allowed to install a license plate on the side of the bumper and what can be the penalty but the slightest misalignment in the installation of the system and the uniformity of distribution of braking force applied to the rear/front axles. or rear wheels will be violated. This is the main disadvantage accompanying the installation of disc brakes. The solution to this problem is to install a dual circuit system, with each circuit involving the connection of the right and left wheels of both semi-axles. The main thing is that the regulator is located before the drive of the hydraulic handbrake, but after the main TC. Only in this case it is possible to ensure optimal operation of the improved braking system. Now let's consider how important the role of the hydraulic handbrake is in this. In fact, if you limit yourself to replacing the drum brakes with disc brakes only, without installing a hydraulic handbrake and dual circuit system, you will need to connect additional circuits to the rear suspension to ensure that the braking performance is at least as good. In addition, on both sides of the rear suspension will need to mount additional calipers. It is clear that such tuning is quite burdensome in terms of money, time, and effort. However, everything is much simpler if you install a hydraulic handbrake instead. This will allow perfectly distribute the braking force on the rear axle, noticeably increase the power of the rear brakes. The same will happen with the front brakes, because schematically the lines will be shifted to the vacuum booster. However, disadvantages also exist. The main one is a noticeable decrease in braking intensity if for any reason the front circuit fails. Most importantly, the complete failure of the braking system will not occur. This is, of course, very important. It is worth noting that the hydraulic parking brake performs its immediate functions almost perfectly, holding the car in place on gradients with no less gradient than its mechanical counterpart. How to make a hydraulic handbrake with your own hands. If the car owner has decided to improve the braking system by replacing the drum mechanism on the disc, installation of the hydraulic handbrake will avoid many additional costs. But even in this case, there are opportunities for significant savings. We are talking about refusing to purchase a ready-made set of hydraulic ST, especially since its independent manufacture cannot be called a complicated procedure. So, let's list what materials and tools we will need. Hydraulic cylinder used in the clutch mechanism for this model of car. Used in the implementation of wiring hoses of the brake line. About a dozen washers, preferably copper, metal tubes, which are part of the brake system. 5 VAZ ones will do. Rubber brake hose to be installed temporarily. Brake fluid recommended by the automaker of this model. The volume will depend on the design features of the machine, but usually 4 liters are enough. Plug, plastic clamps, a set of twist ties, tooling used for repair/installation of the handbrake. Read also, alternative fuels for modern cars. Once the entire list is ready, you can proceed directly to installation work. Installation of the hydraulic handbrake is carried out in accordance with the following algorithm. To provide more comfortable working conditions, it will be necessary to slightly disassemble the interior. This will simplify access to the main units of the braking system, including the main and parking brakes, which have structural elements located in the cabin. To do this, you will have to study the manual for your car model. If there is no printed version, you can always find the relevant documentation on the internet. It is necessary to pay special attention to the structure of a particular brake system, in particular, where its lines run. If the installation of the hydraulic handbrake was preceded by the installation of disc brakes, you should already know about it. The first task is to find the brake line of the rear half axle of the car. You will have to work more closely with it. Usually the holes through which the speedometer cable is mounted are used for this purpose. Be especially careful when working in the engine compartment, as it contains a large number of other assemblies and units to connect. The hydraulic handbrake. Make sure that all hoses, which are part of the brake line, are connected to the master cylinder. By means of twisting, it will be necessary to extend the line using the previously prepared metal tube. This is a temporary measure. Later, the regulator of the improved disc brake system will be mounted in its place, the previously removed handbrake handle is mounted in its rightful place. Then it is necessary to connect one more pipe to the output pipe of the GC. It is through it that the cylinders will be filled with brake fluid. Then we connect the output pipe of the GC to the rear circuit of the modified braking system using a hose. Try to find in the rear part of the car, close to the axle, 3 technological holes, used for laying hoses filled with brake fluid. If there are no such holes, you will have to drill them, making sure that the diameter of the holes is not smaller than the outer diameter of the hoses used. When routing the hose through the technical hole, it is important to prevent it from being wiped while the car is moving. This is done by installing a protective ring. The remaining part of the work is carried out on a pit because it is necessary to gain access to the underside of the car. To the hose pulled through the technical hole, we connect a T. And to it, in turn, connect the 3 hoses that we pulled through the entire cabin and shoved into the drilled or ready-made holes. The T also needs to be secured in some reliable way to prevent it from dangling. The best way to do this is with plastic clamps. The final part of the work is a thorough sealing of the connections, after which you can start filling the brake system with fluid. It is important not to allow air to get into the circuit, as this can cause a noticeable decrease in the effectiveness of the brakes. It remains only to check how the hydraulic handbrake, made by your own hands, works. It is desirable to conduct tests on a fairly spacious and deserted stretch of road. In conclusion, installing a hydraulic handbrake can significantly enhance your vehicle's performance and control, especially during drifting or off-road driving. By following the steps outlined in this video, you can successfully complete the installation yourself, saving both time and money. Remember to double-check all connections and ensure everything is secure before taking your vehicle out on the road. With a little patience and attention to detail, you'll be well on your way to enjoying the benefits of your new hydraulic handbrake. Thank you for watching, and happy driving.